All right. Before we get into the next topic, which will be Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, I wanted to remind everybody that you guys can support this podcast. Go to saltynerdclub.com and check out our Patreon. We have exclusive content there for you guys. We have exclusive podcasts. We've got stickers we can send you. We can all kinds of cool stuff. But if you'd like to support the podcast and send us some cheddar, go to saltynerdclub.com. That is our Patreon page, and we'd appreciate anything that you would be willing to give us. And that being said, let's discuss Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, which is
Do we have to?
apparently like your least favorite movie ever.
Not ever. Like
I'm going to have me and you will go last because I'm going to have a back and forth with you for a while. But Vader, what did you think about this movie?
Meh.
That's it? Yeah?
I want to know how the lake went from the middle of the island to having ocean access.
What lake?
The lake that the big giant monster was in.
yeah, so in Jurassic World when they show like the mosasaur or whatever that huge fish shark thing was.
Yeah, it's in like
It's in the middle of the island and it doesn't have access to the ocean. However,
But now all of a sudden there's
movie,
a gate that enters directly to the ocean.
Somehow that lake has teleported to the edge of the island.
It's like they're on a different island.
I'm going to have to look into that a little deeper.
Oh, it's right there,
It's
brother.
right there.
Well, they're very easily could have been like the establishing shot of the new park from the first movie. If we can see where that ended up.
Didn't they show a map?
They did show a
And
map.
then and the lake is in the center of the park.
Right dead center. No access to the ocean. And it's facing the visitor center, like that big pyramid place.
Yeah.
And that's where like the climax of Jurassic World happened, where the mosasaur jumps out and eats the Indominus Rex and pulls it into the lake.
Yeah.
Yes.
But in Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, that has teleported to the ocean.
I think my biggest issue with this movie is it seemed like it was two different movies.
It was, yeah.
It was like, we're going to do this stuff on an island, and that's all cool. And now we don't have just dinosaurs, but we got volcanic eruptions and lava and the world's slowest pyroclastic flows. And you know that Chris Pratt can outrun, even though it's 800,000 degrees of, skin melting heat. And yeah, man, it was weird. So then we go from the island stuff to the Fortress of Solitude, where the Legion of Doom's in there, auctioning off dinosaurs. Then they all escape, right? And procreate and inhabit the entire world. So it's like me. I don't know. I kind of have a few issues with this movie.
Okay.
But it was still fun.
I have a lot of notes on Fallen.
Do you? Okay. I have when I first, you're right. I can't.
He pulled up the map.
I pulled up the map. It's like smack in the middle of the freaking island.
It is.
I don't know. I want to say though, I love that freaking opening. The opening for this movie is fantastic.
Well, let me ask you this question about the opening, because I was confused. So the guys in the submarine who open the movie, when they're basically diving down to get a bone sample from the Indominus Rex for the evil scientist guys, one of the guys is nervous and the other guy says, "Relax, everything here is dead." Well, it's only been like 3 years since the events of do they really think all the dinosaurs on that island died over the course of 3 years?
Yeah, I don't understand. I said the same thing. I don't understand why anyone thought that everything there was dead.
I think he was specifically talking about the water area that they were going into, because there was only one dinosaur.
But who was feeding that thing in the last 3 years?
It could. I mean, ocean animals don't always have.
It didn't have access to the ocean until
No, I'm saying it could have. Just
it would be like if Free Willy got stuck in the pond at SeaWorld and nobody fed him for 3 years. He'd die.
You have to remember that opening scene is the first time that the Mosasaurus was able to escape that area. So what was he eating in that time?
Maybe he didn't have to eat anything.
But to be fair, we're just sitting here nitpicking a movie.
No, I mean, it makes sense. Yeah, if it's just opening the movie, okay, there's a couple of inconsistencies here. I can see that. But I don't know, maybe... I don't know what the digestive tract of a mosasaurus was. Maybe it could hibernate for a while like a bear and just not eat. and kind of float around motionless for a while. And then it was
Either that or he just slowly picked at that Indominus Rex over the course of a couple years.
That's another thing too. Yeah, you could do that. Or you could eat whatever lands in the water. I mean, you have to assume that other dinosaurs were going to come and drink out of that water, or maybe not salt water, so that's not going to happen. If it's close to the shore, it jumps out, grabs something, and eats it. There's things you can speculate. There's things you can speculate.
Okay, let me ask you this, though, because this was a big issue I had, which is basically the whole premise of this film. And if you can't explain this, then this is a big problem to me.
Okay, I'll give it a shot.
All right, so the whole kind of thrust, the catalyst of this movie's story is that there's a volcano on Isla Nublar that's going to erupt. It's going to kill all the dinosaurs. It's going to make them go extinct, right? So basically, the heroes are assembled to go and save the dinosaurs to keep them from being re-extinct, right?
Yep.
All right. Well, what about Isla Sorna? Aren't there still dinosaurs there? So technically, the dinosaurs wouldn't go extinct. So they don't have to save these dinosaurs because there's a whole other island full of dinosaurs that isn't going to have a volcanic eruption.
I'm pretty sure. Okay, I cannot argue with you as far as the movie is concerned because I do not believe it's addressed in the movies. But I'm pretty sure as far as the greater fandom and other explanations is that they moved all of the dinosaurs from Sorna onto Nublar when they started repopulating the original island and making it back into a park.
Okay, I will accept that answer. Okay, but in addition to that, so like let's say this island goes volcanic, they have all the embryos and genetic stuff they need to make new dinosaurs. So why not just start over again someplace that doesn't have a volcano?
Because once again, the company that is responsible and the only company that has the technology that is required to make dinosaurs after the park gets rampaged by the Indominus goes completely bankrupt. So it takes an immense amount of funding to do that. I think that's what their idea is. Like if the technology is owned by this one company and this one company goes under, then it's going to be.
But the thing is, like,
lost.
if they have the ability to make more dinosaurs, then technically they wouldn't be extinct, right? Because you could just make more at a certain point.
You could.
And you could sell that technology, the patents on that technology to.
I think it's also
recoup the investment.
I think it's also a public opinion versus what's happening like under the table with these corporations. Like, oh, we have the technology, so we can technically make more. But the public opinion is like, hey, these dinosaurs exist and this island is going to go bad. And that's what the media attention is on the dinosaurs. And
I also don't get Claire's activism because like she almost got killed. Her nephews almost got killed by dinosaurs. She never really looked at dinosaurs as anything other than like a prop at her job. Even though she learned to like respect them at the end of the first Jurassic World, I would think that she would be like, yeah, let them die because they're incredibly dangerous.
Yeah, she's not raising baby pterodactyls at home on her ranch.
No, but I think it's part of her arc, right? She starts out as this cold calculating, these are just numbers on a spreadsheet to the point where she starts to respect them. And now she has an appreciation for them a couple years later.
I think you're right that it is part of her arc. I don't think that it's believable.
Yeah. Well, same thing happened with John Hammond, right? He was this cold calculating, I just want to make money. Well, maybe not in the first movie, but in the book, I want to make money. I want to do
we're
this.
Talking about the movies. Here.
And then the movies, Ian says, like, you went from capitalist to naturalist in just 4 years. Wow, that's amazing. Like it's the same arc that John Hammond had.
See, I think it would have been more interesting had Owen, Chris Pratt's character, come to Claire and tried to convince her to come back to the island to save it, because it would have made more sense if she was just like, I'm done with dinosaurs. I don't want to deal with dinosaurs anymore. And another big problem I had with this was basically they just reset their relationship. Their whole kind of relationship in Jurassic World was they had an attraction. They went on a date. It didn't work out. So now they have like this kind of
awkward.
These two characters are not compatible.
No, they're not.
but the thing is like they basically just reset their relationship, and it was the exact same relationship arc in the second movie that was in the first. It's like they couldn't think of somewhere new to take it. And I would have liked to have seen that relationship evolve as opposed to just being reset. I
think that constant like love, hate, bickering back and forth, like it makes for an interesting movie to watch. These characters are fun when they interact with each other because they can be snarky and stuff. But like on a relationship level, like, no, Claire is not going to be living in a van on the side of the road while he builds his cabin. Like that's not her thing. Like it made sense to me why she wouldn't want to be with him anymore. And they weren't like established as like this long time relationship. They had a fling. And in this movie,
But
that
it's
fling gets kind of
literally
reignited.
the same relationship arc as the first movie.
It is. It's the exact same.
It's like they couldn't have been bothered to think of, something new for the characters to experience together. And
They're just going to re-up.
the big thing about
Now they have a kid.
these two movies is that
Spoilers, dude.
Yeah.
Jeez.
the first Jurassic World, Spielberg was very heavily involved in its development, and I think you can see that, and you can get that from the movie because it is entertaining.
Mm-hmm.
For this movie, Lost World or Fallen Kingdom, Fallen Kingdom.
Okay.
After the success of the first one, Spielberg basically just handed the reins over to Trevorrow, and he was like, I'll produce it, but I'm not going to be too involved. I've got other stuff going on.
Here, make it good.
So this was Trevorrow's baby. Like, he was the one who came up with the idea for the story and the script and all this stuff. He brought on J.A. Bayona, and this was really Trevorrow's ship to steer. And I think it kind of showcases his kind of shortcomings as a writer very blatantly. And as a storyteller, like, he's a decent enough director. I just don't think he's a very good storyteller. And I feel like this movie is a prime example of that.
Okay, like kind of like I mentioned before, the studio, and I'm sure Steven Spielberg helped out in this, wanted to kind of reestablish this world. The first movie was spent reestablishing dinosaurs on Earth on this park. The second movie is basically doing what The Lost World didn't have the balls to do, is get the animals off the island. That was the whole idea behind this movie. That's the only reason why this movie exists. Because honestly, I think Colin Trevorrow probably had the idea for this movie. Like, okay, they have to go back to the island. We have to have them go there. We have to have them take the dinosaurs off the island so that we can set up for the third movie. The third movie is the one that I think he probably worked. He has been working on for the longest time.
I'm still kind of confused in how this small little group of animals is supposed to populate the entire planet with dinosaurs.
Well, it's not. I mean, it's going to start. That's like the first wave, but
They also showed that the people at the auction who paid for their dinosaurs got them, and at the end they were transporting them. So the idea is that a lot of these were probably created via genetic, like engineering. But I know that in interviews, Colin Trevorrow said that he wanted to get off the island because, we've had 4 movies on an island so far, and people are going to get bored with that. So he wanted to take it in a new direction. And basically, Fallen Kingdom's like 2 different movies crammed into one. You have like the beginning, which is the first hour of them on the island. And I actually thought that was the best part of this movie.
Yeah, I did too.
I enjoyed it.
And then the second part, he wanted to tell a haunted house story. Like, he literally said, like, the second half of this movie is about a haunted house.
Yeah, J.A. Bayona said that.
Yeah.
He wanted to do like the dragon in the castle, princess in the castle thing.
Basically, they made it into all the Jurassic Parks are a horror movie on some level. And so they just wanted to go from, the extinction level event to the horror movie in here and mashed them up together, and I didn't feel it worked at all.
Really?
No.
Oh, I thought it was fun.
It's like 2 completely different shows. And I don't think they mixed super well together.
Oh, I disagree. I think it was fine. I mean, I loved the part on the island. I think showcasing the volcanic eruption and all that stuff was really cool. I know it's a stretch to think that he was going to outrun that, but still.
I also thought it was funny that Claire went there to save the dinosaurs, and the first dinosaur she runs into, she leaves to die. I mean, obviously it was trying to kill her at the time, but still, it's like, oh, okay, we're just going to lock you in with all the lava. Mr. Spinal
Baryonyx. It's the Baryonyx. I was going to say, okay, so you mentioned something about Claire and Owen. Like, you thought it would have been more interesting to have Owen try to convince Claire to go. And I wanted to just address that real quick. I don't think that would have made any sense, because if that was the case, why would Owen need Claire to go back there in the first place?
Because she has the only bio imprint to turn on the tracking.
Oh, they said that in the movie. Yeah, that's right, didn't they? That's why they brought her in the first place, because she had all the keys to get in. Yeah. And she brought her.
Like it would have been interesting to see, like, instead of approaching Claire at first, they approach Owen and be like, we need you to help us save Blue. And because of his connection to Blue, he reluctantly agrees. But they're like, but we need Claire. And Claire's just like, I don't want to ever go back to Dinosaur Island, But another issue were like the 2 supporting characters for me. Franklin and
the diversity hires.
Yeah, the diversity hires. Yeah. So like
Franklin is Arby.
true.
Yeah, Franklin. If there was ever a representation of what Arby from the book would be, it's Franklin, like 100%.
I had a real problem with the girl though, the girl character.
Why?
Like, okay, so what's her title? She's like a
Paleo-veterinarian.
Paleo-veterinarian. And she's like, I've never worked on a dinosaur before.
Yeah.
Even though she's gone and gotten a degree in paleo-veterinary.
Never thought she'd see one.
Yeah, she never thought she'd see one. And you would think that this character, because she's dedicated her life to studying dinosaurs, would have gone to Jurassic World or Jurassic Park at some point in her life just to see dinosaurs because she's so, obsessed with them.
Or like as part of her training.
Yeah, or as part of her training. Or where was she planning to get a job?
It kind of
Probably at Jurassic World before it went under.
it kind of feels like she was just the perfect example of most people that go to liberal arts colleges these days.
Thank you. That's exactly what I was going to say. How many people
I'm
do
going
you
to
know?
go spend hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Paleo-veterinary school is a liberal arts school.
Well, it is now.
I mean, it's such a specialized...
I'm going to go get a degree in ancient Ethiopian literature for no freaking reason at all whatsoever.
It's such a specialized profession that you would think that InGen would be the one fostering it.
It's quite possible that happened.
But
and then the company
the
goes
whole
under.
the whole idea that she was like, I never thought I'd get to see a dinosaur. It's like Jurassic Park's been open for how many number of years by the time Jurassic
She's a
World
college
starts?
student. She can't afford to go to Costa Rica to go to Jurassic World.
Excuse me. It's a tourist. I mean, like, can you say like I can't afford to go to Disney World?
I can't.
Maybe
You
she
know how
would,
freaking expensive that place
in
is.
in your life. If,
Yeah,
if
but
that's your passion.
If you are in school for a profession specializing in this, it would absolutely be a part of your training that you all go there.
you would think InGen would have some kind of intern school.
Yeah.
Again,
or
going on
at
where
the
they-
very least, she stops. She doesn't pay for tuition 1 year just so she can go to Jurassic Park and actually see these dinosaurs that she's obsessed with.
I don't know. I mean, I know plenty of people that went to college and don't use their degree for jack squat. So
Pretty much everybody.
yeah, it doesn't break my lore for this movie to consider that like, hey, she went to college. Maybe she went to college when Jurassic
I'm
World
just saying
was like.
it was an odd choice for the writers in terms of her character to make her so obsessed with dinosaurs and have this very specialized,
And to also
profession.
not know enough about dinosaurs. Like she was doing a lot of blood type guessing. Like you're a vet specifically for dinosaurs, and you were like, I think this might work. Why don't we try it? You
Well, they
should
had to have
know.
somebody
You
that
are
was-
a
Yeah,
vet.
like if she was just a regular vet and she was guessing when trying to help these
Yeah.
dinosaurs, that would have made sense.
That would have made sense. She's a specific dinosaur veterinarian. She's like, let's give it a whirl.
She's not an expert. She's just
She's
a college
veterinarian
student. She's a college student.
for dinosaurs. And she was
College
like,
student.
it might work.
Yeah, but that made more sense for was it a blood transfusion?
Yeah.
Yeah.
On the boat?
Yeah.
So it was like, we can't have a regular, like horse doctor. Well, maybe we need to do a blood transfusion for these reptiles because I'm a horse doctor, but I don't know anything I don't know how to do dinosaurs.
She was like, anything with
It wouldn't have been any more ridiculous.
She was like, any dinosaur with 2 legs, and the only other dinosaur with 2 legs is the freaking T-Rex.
no,
No.
It was 3
had
fingers.
To, it had to be I thought it had to be carnivorous.
Yeah, carnivorous dinosaur
Yeah.
with a bipedal carnivorous dinosaur.
with 3 fingers,
Maybe 2.
maybe 2.
It's definitely an odd choice. I can't argue with that, but I just rationalized it in my head.
Instead of that tech guy, I really wanted them to bring back Nick.
Oh,
Like
that
I
would've
think
been
I think
awesome.
Nick would have been perfect
He
for
would have
that,
been perfect
that
for
role.
this. Yeah.
I loved his character in the first movie.
I can agree with that. Yeah, instead of Franklin.
I didn't know he was
Nick-
coming back.
He's coming back for the
That's
third
cool.
one.
But you know what's funny? It's just like how blatantly they ripped off Lost World for this movie.
Yeah.
Well,
It's
that's
like
what
almost
they were
beat for
supposed to do.
it's almost beat for beat the exact same movie. Like Buffalo Bill, I forget his name.
Yeah, the
Great White
Great White Hunter.
Commander Wheatley
Yeah.
or something?
Yeah.
I thought that was the same actor.
Yeah,
No, it's a different guy.
Well, it was the exact same character,
yeah.
from Lost World, and also the smarmy, henchman for InGen, the guy who's not John Hammond's assistant.
For the uncle character. Yeah,
he's the exact same character
this
as
is
the
the same-
nephew from Jurassic.
this is the same
World.
movie. It just they had to do it
Yeah.
so that they could set up the next movie.
We haven't even talked about the clone chick yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a weird. I don't know
And-
why
Yeah.
they decided to do that.
Can I tell you my notes
Yeah, go ahead.
as I was watching this? I made notes.
Okay.
and I'd like for you to go through what I went through.
Okay. It's freaking aliens,
Okay.
man.
Fallen Kingdom.
Oh boy.
Part 1.
This is Lost World.
Yep.
Correct.
The paleo vet is doing a lot of guessing of blood types for a paleo vet. And she never thought she'd see one? I hate when sequels introduce a new character as if they've always been around.
Who's that?
Not John Hammond.
Old man.
Oh, that's Lockwood. Okay, that's a
yeah.
deep cut from the books.
Why are they weirdly not letting this girl see what her mother looked like?
Because she's a clone.
She is her mother.
She is her mother.
I just want you to listen. I don't want you to fix me.
She's writing.
Speed it up then. Speed it up.
She was writing these as she was watching.
As I was watching it, I was
I'm
reading it.
answering them as
All right.
I'm hearing them.
Yeah.
How was Bro planning on getting away with this? Was he always planning to murder Old Man? And was no one alerted to Old Man's vitals? And the money manager is the child's guardian? And then my final note is the army guy walking in yelling for his bonus reminded me of the kid from Better Off Dead yelling for his $2. Those are my notes.
I want my $2.
I want my $2.
How did Lockwood find out about because when his granddaughter kind of came in to tell him about all the shady shit?
Yeah, and he was like, surely you must be mistaken. And then like
Well,
next
no,
scene, he's
she
like,
did- she
how dare you?
She didn't even tell him. He was just like go to bed. And so like she left without telling him anything. And then the next scene that he's in, where he's confronting the guy, he suddenly knows everything about what's been happening. I almost think it would have been more interesting if Lockwood was the ultimate villain, like this was his brainchild to capture these dinosaurs and sell them on the black market. I think that would have been a more interesting twist than what we got.
I could have accepted that. That would have been cool.
Yeah, and that poor old man, I feel like he thought he had more power than he did because he did everything just one-on-one with this guy. And he was like, you're going to call the police. And he was like, I'm just going to fucking kill you.
Yeah, why was he like, you call the police on yourself?
Yeah.
That's the dumbest.
Lame.
That's the dumbest strategy.
Oh, okay, I'll go ahead and call the police on myself.
It's a senile old man. What can I say?
Bless.
But Lockwood is a character that's been around since the first book. However, it was said in the first book that he died of cancer. So they kind of resurrected that character. I'm assuming the only reason they did that was because the actor who plays John Hammond isn't around anymore. So they couldn't have John Hammond be the character.
But also, like, they basically wanted John Hammond. So, like, they made him look as much like John Hammond as possible. They even gave him John Hammond's cane.
the cane.
The same cane. They had matching canes because they were the ones. But it's all,
Twinsy.
Twinsies.
It's like a best friend cane.
It does make sense as far as like a book reader goes. It's kind of like a deep cut from the lore of the books of like, this character Lockwood, who was partners with John Hammond early on in the creation of these genetic dinosaurs. Like, it's all there.
But you know what's crazy to me is like, so you have this big convoluted plot about selling dinosaurs
so that they could fund the new project of making another Indoraptor. Is that what the money was for?
I don't know exactly what the money was for. I just know that like
It was just
to
for
take
money.
over the world.
To take
the thing is
what
like
are we going to take today, Brian?
What do you need all this money for? Money.
Money.
the thing is like if you want money, so like they succeeded in human cloning.
Mm-hmm. But nobody knows about it, though.
The profit potential for human cloning in terms of like cloning people's organs for like organ replacement, like the medical applications for that, bringing back like people who've died, stuff,
SIDS.
like the profit potential for the human cloning stuff is way bigger than the dinosaur stuff.
Yeah.
So like, why weren't they exploiting that?
I'm pretty sure because the pushback on that would be huge. Like dinosaurs already exist.
They don't seem to care about pushback, dude.
No, you can
They're running a black market on, can you imagine how many rich people out there would need like a heart transplant or liver transplant and would give their entire fortune to like have a cloned liver that they wouldn't reject?
This
is called The Island.
I'm pretty
With
sure.
Scarlett
I'm pretty
Johansson.
sure we can do that in the real world already. Anyway, they're just not
telling us.
know.
I think it's already exists.
We'll talk about that with
I'm
the
just saying
reptilians.
that whole human cloning aspect kind of,
Negates
puts
the
a
whole-
big plot hole in the movie in terms of like their motivation for wanting these dinosaurs. Everything about this movie story is very contrived to me, and I think that's its biggest issue is that it is contrived, and it feels like all these plot elements were put in there because the people making the movie needed them there in order to tell the story the way that they wanted it to
So
end
like
up.
it's the Indoraptor, right?
Yeah.
So it's a trained killer
Yeah.
that they point a rifle barrel with a trigger at somebody, right?
I knew you guys were going to bring this up.
So why don't they just shoot the dude instead of having...
So I prepared for this.
Oh, did you?
Yes.
Please.
It's stated
Do you have your dossier?
in this movie, not like a book lore fandom like headcanon.
So
it's in the movie.
It's too hard to shoot somebody.
It's in the movie that this is a very early like concept of what we can do. This is not the final product. It's not like, well, if I point this gun at this guy and aim the laser, it's going to kill him. Like, that's like the first step. Like, okay, here's the concept. Can we somehow target somebody specific and have this animal attack that person? Yes, that's the answer. We can do that. Okay, cool. Now let's take this further.
They shouldn't have done the laser with a gun for the movie. They should have just had like a laser hand pointer with no gun to make their point. Because now everybody's like, why don't you just shoot him?
But also the weird part is they were not supposed to auction off the Indoraptor.
Yeah.
Right.
That was like,
money.
They were just kind of showing it off, and then people started bidding on it, and they're like, oh, okay, I guess.
Yeah,
we'll
the
sell
evil
this thing.
Russian guy.
But-
20 million.
Yeah, but
Greed.
But Doctor what's his
Wu.
name?
Wu.
Doctor Wu specifically comes out. And he's like, this is a prototype.
Yeah,
It's
stop it.
dangerous.
Nope.
And he's just like, I'm going to sell it anyway.
Yeah, because he's an idiot.
You can make more.
Blinded by greed. That's the whole, that's the whole point of that guy's
But also
character.
the whole motivation to get Blue was so that they could imprint on, a new version of this to make it even more
safer, basically.
Right,
They're trying to make a
safer.
safer version of the Indoraptor, and they needed Blue's genetic material because she was the only one that was able to interact with humans on a like level basis.
Well, then we had to have it escape.
Of course.
So we could, do the
Of
typical
course.
And
20 minutes of every
This is the best part of the movie.
every Jurassic Park movie.
The whole thing about the guy going into the cage to get the tooth. Talk about
Oh my
contrived. Talk about contrived. Oh my God. It's like, okay, we need to get the Indoraptor to escape somehow. What's the dumbest way we could possibly do that?
Oh, that's a cool looking dinosaur. I want that guy's
Yeah.
tooth.
And I was like, somebody just paid $28 million for that dinosaur and you're just going to roll up on it and start taking its teeth?
He doesn't know that. He wasn't
That's
in the room.
not your dinosaur.
He wasn't in the room.
That's a $30 million dinosaur.
The
Put that tooth back, you idiot.
I think 30 million is kind of a low price, right?
I don't know.
Per dinosaur.
I guess it
It's
would
the
depend.
only one.
Well, do you remember what the number that they started with was?
We'll
like
make
$4 million.
more.
It's like $4 million for this one dinosaur, and then like as the auction got up and the prices started jacking up to like $20 million a piece, $14 million a piece. It was pretty crazy.
I've seen.
I don't know.
They had a painting go for like $200 million a couple weeks
Also,
ago.
I have a real issue with how they were conducting that auction. Typically,
Yeah, what was with that leaderboard?
well, typically you would keep the dinosaurs in a controlled environment and then like show video of them to talk about what you're doing, so like the auctioneers would be safe. This whole thing about putting them in a cage and rolling them out into the middle of the room,
It's like the catwalk.
it was so bizarre.
I don't know. I
think-
don't think a video of the dinosaur would be as impactful.
I really wanted to see like a scene where like the dinosaur was in the room, but the room was filled with like these television monitors.
Oh, screens of people.
With these guys in black shrouds that you can't see their faces are bidding on the dinosaurs. These evil people,
Like Eyes Wide Shut.
I was just going to say that.
like the from what's the Legion of Evil from Venture Brothers? They're all behind the screens with the black hoods and stuff.
Yeah.
But, whatever.
I don't know. I didn't have an issue with that. I thought, greed makes people do dumb things all the time. And I thought the auctioning of like the animals, like showing the animals up front and closer is just a ploy to get more money out of people, to like the shock and awe kind of thing. So that didn't bother me. And rolling out the Indoraptor was another just shock and awe. Like, look what else we have under the curtain.
This is a secret preview.
Yeah.
Get
exactly.
in now.
Yeah. So like it's like
Order
This
yours
is what
now.
you can get for the next Legion of Evil auction that we'll have.
it's like Elon Musk rolling up his new Cybertruck
Yeah.
and he throws a piece of throws a ball at it and it breaks the window and he's like, well, that didn't work out. It's the same thing. They roll out the Indoraptor like, look what we have, and then it escapes and eats everybody.
Call 1-8884-RAPTOR. That's 1-8884-RAPTOR to order yours now.
Can you also explain the part to me where, okay, so Owen and Claire are in one of these trucks and they're in a convoy going from the ship to the mansion, that's transporting like the dinosaurs there. And in the dark with full headlights on, a character that we've never seen before, or if we have, he wasn't important enough to introduce, somehow sees them driving by through the windshield and contacts Great White Hunter that somehow they're still alive and they're part of this convoy, specifically so Great White Hunter can capture them. Like, can you explain to me who that guy was and how he was able to recognize them?
I can't remember that specific scene unless he was part of the crew.
There's literally a shot where like
was he one of the guys that was on the main transport that when they saw the Brachiosaurus at the visitor?
I don't know
center?
because I didn't recognize him.
Okay, he might have been one of those guys. I can't remember what his face looked like, but if he was probably on,
and it's funny because they show a shot of him like reacting as like the car drives by. I'm like, it's night with headlights flashing in your face. And they're driving by at like, 20, 30 miles an hour. It's like, how do you see them?
Maybe he had that raptor smell.
It's plot contrivances that just drive me crazy.
When a hot redhead is on your transport and you're like, hey, look at her. And then later you see her
you're
again.
Like,
you're
oh,
like,
shit,
oh, shit,
she
girl.
wants this.
I don't know, man. I have to look at the guy because he might have been
She's
one
so
of them.
thirsty.
I hear she can run in heels.
Yeah.
Ooh, I
That's a
I
skill.
love me a woman that can run in heels.
Which she was in combat boots this entire movie. Just going to say that.
She learned
They
her
made
lesson.
it a point to show that.
Yeah, they did. I think in the next movie they should definitely make it a point to make sure everybody knows what kind of shoes Claire is wearing in the third movie.
It's kind of a funny little inside
Yeah,
joke.
I think
inside
we're
joke.
going to definitely see like a dude running in heels.
Well, did you ever see I think it was either Conan or it was like Colbert or something like that, where Chris Pratt put on high heels and tried to run just like Bryce Dallas Howard did. And he was like, this is hard, man.
Yeah, well,
To be
he's
honest
not
with you
great at
guys-
choreography anyway.
I don't see how any woman can even walk in those things.
Yeah,
And
tell me
I've seen women that go to these clubs and stuff here in Vegas that got these like
Stilettos.
stiletto
With the
6-inch. Yeah. And I'm like, how do they even put them on their foot?
And
Much
they're out
less
there dancing on the
walk
dance
and
floor.
stuff.
Why don't we ask our
Cocaine.
ambassador of estrogen
Yeah.
how that works?
How do you wear heels, Jude?
Cocaine makes you dumb.
I know
Nothing.
I know my daughter. She always has a pair of flats in her purse
Just in case?
because the heels never last
Yeah.
the entire night. But I don't know.
It
Just one of those
depends.
things.
It depends on the shoe. If you're wearing a good shoe that's made well, it doesn't bother your foot as much. If you're wearing a cheap shoe, then yeah, they're awful on your feet. And also, if you've been wearing heels your entire life, then your feet are kind of like mangled enough that they don't really get sore. If you're like the girl who wears tennis shoes all the time and then you slip on a pair of heels to go out one night, you're not going to last the night.
Look like a baby giraffe,
Yeah.
just kind of walking
Yeah.
around, your knees
So
buckling.
like her heels didn't bother me because she was clearly that woman that wore heels all the time.
Yeah.
I used to work with a girl that she was more comfortable in heels than she was in anything else. And she just wore them all the time for 10-hour days. And that was just what she was comfortable in. So it didn't bother me that she was wearing heels. It didn't bother me that she was running in them. I felt like it would have been at least a good scene to acknowledge that she was wearing heels. So I felt like a Romancing the Stone scene where they addressed that would have been nice for the fans, I think, so that it didn't bother as many people. But me specifically, didn't bother me.
Didn't bother me either.
Me neither.
Do you have any other problems with this movie?
Well, let's talk about the clone girl.
Yeah. I don't know. This might be a tough one for me because I don't understand why they went this direction, but go ahead.
Yeah, I felt like it was weird.
It was
They were just weird and creepy through the whole thing, trying to like
It was also
bury
weird
the
how they
lead.
revealed it.
Yeah.
Where the guy is like, do you even know what she is?
Yeah.
And it's just like, okay, she's a
Yeah.
clone.
Who cares?
She's a little girl.
Yeah.
But like at the very end where Claire makes the very brave decision to let the dinosaurs die because she knows the ramifications of letting them out. And then all of a sudden that little girl just hits the button. She's like, they're alive like me.
And they're like, okay.
It's just like, do you know how many people you just killed?
Yeah.
Kids do dumb things, man. What can I say?
Yeah. Don't turn your back on the giant red button and also the clone girl.
Yeah, that's a tough one. Like that whole decision-making process of like having a little girl be like, I have to because they're alive. Like there was just a cringy line to begin with, but
Yeah.
just the idea of like,
She's a mass murderer now.
yeah, she's responsible. That's a heavy responsibility that she just took on by doing that.
Also, like, do you remember her nanny?
Yes.
Iris.
That the guy dismissed, and she was like, "You can't dismiss me. Like, I've raised this girl. She's basically my daughter." And she disappears from the movie. And then at the end, I guess Claire and Owen just adopt her, and
They just take her.
yeah, and this woman who's basically her mother is just like
She's dead.
Like the girl's just like, oh, I guess I'm with you now.
Yeah.
She dies.
Super weird.
She's dead. They cut out. I don't know why they cut. I think it would have been fantastic to have this scene in the movie, but she gets eaten by the Indoraptor. It's a cut scene that a scene that they filmed that they never ended up in the movie.
Oh, that's
she's dead.
interesting.
Yeah.
But
Again,
if it wasn't in the movie, it's not canon.
like I can't argue with that. It is. It's weird. She just kind of disappears. Like I mean, as far as the movie is concerned, it kind of makes it like she just kind of like got in her car and drove
It's going to
away.
be in the Trevorrow cut.
Yeah, there you go.
Speaking of things that got cut, one of the interesting things about this was like the paleo veterinarian girl in the original cut, like she was very vocal about being a lesbian.
In the movie?
Yes. They cut out scenes where she was like,
Oh, they cut scenes.
Yeah,
Okay.
I actually remember hearing something a little
Yeah, I
bit
do
about
too
that.
now.
And the reason they cut it out was because you can't have gay characters play in Chinese cinema. The censors won't allow it. So they decided to neuter her, like this aspect of her character, so like the movie could play in the Chinese box office.
I think it's pretty obvious anyway.
Well, it's never stated though.
It's never stated, but it's implied.
And it was a big part of her character.
Yeah.
And they were kind of talking about it before the movie released too. And then the last minute just took it all out because they wanted that Chinese money.
Well, I don't think that's going to have as much of a bearing on future movies anymore. Like,
Well, I just want to mention it because it's Pride Month, and
is it?
it is, right?
Oh, it's Dinosaur Month.
Like taken as a whole, the movie's not that bad. Like it's something that you can sit down and watch and enjoy yourself with. But when you really start to dig into it, it's a very problematic film.
I gave it my first impression when I looked back on my Instagram when the movie first came out. I posted a review of it, and it was like I think I gave it like a 6 out of 10. Like it wasn't that high. It wasn't my favorite one at all. And I think a lot of the problems that I had with it were more of like at the end of the movie when everybody was running away from this like super intelligent hybrid Indoraptor thing, and it just keeps getting fooled into not knowing where they are. And I'm like, how do they keep hiding from this thing if it's like super intelligent? And then the other thing too, one of the things that always bugs me about these movies, and it's consistent, so it's a thing that happens in every single movie, even from the first one till now, is like dinosaurs are conveniently sneaky when they need to be, and then obviously like
Rampaging.
announced when they need to be. It's like the Indoraptor, this huge like
Opening doors.
2,000-pound thing and whatever, it's breaking through these metal grates and this, it's breaking through glass and this, but this little girl closes a wooden door, can't get through it. I'm like, what? Like there's moments like that. And then with the T-Rex is basically a ninja in this movie, right? Like almost every other time when the plot wants it to be, the big boom, you get the ripples in the water, the T-Rex is coming. But in this movie, this thing shows up like out of nowhere, like 7 times.
I was telling Jude when what's his name, the smarmy uncle guy dies at the end.
Yeah, no indication whatsoever.
Like the T-Rex just comes out of frame and clamps its mouth on him and kills him. And it's just like, he'd have seen that.
What's funny is that
he couldn't have snuck up on him.
What I thought was interesting about that scene is kind of dumb is that they tried to trick you because there's a Carnosaurus in the background, the one with the little horns. It's in the background, like way out of focus. You can see it moving around, and you're like, oh, the Carnosaurus is going to see him. And it's going to eat him. And then, like, it tricks you into thinking that. And then all of a sudden the T-Rex just comes in and chomps him. And you're like, what? Where did that come from?
So we wanted to ask you, so Jude and I went frame by frame through
Oh, boy.
these T-Rex scenes. So we know that the T-Rex in Fallen Kingdom is the same T-Rex from Jurassic World.
Yes,
and
Jurassic
I
Park.
believe you call her Rexy.
It's Rexy, yeah.
So we went back to Jurassic Park to look at, because in Jurassic World, Rexy has scars already on one side of her face. And then she gets new scars when she fights the Indominus Rex. So she's all scarred up by the time we get to Fallen Kingdom. But we didn't see where she got her initial scars in the first movie. So we were wondering, is this really the same T-Rex from Jurassic Park?
Yeah, the first movie, It's on her, I guess it would be on her left side, on her jaw and her neck, where the raptors were climbing on top of her.
Actually, it's on her right side is where the scars.
It switches.
Yeah.
Does it switch?
Yeah.
Well, the Indominus Rex was the one who gave her the scars on the left side.
Yes.
Because her left side was facing up when she was pinned down. But in Jurassic Park, we couldn't find the scene where she got those scars from the raptors. It's like we didn't see the raptors scratch her or anything.
Oh, it's at the very end, like right before
We looked at that scene.
the last one where
Yeah, but
she
that's
grabs it by the
that's
tail.
on the wrong side.
She grabs it by the tail and then rips it and throws it into the skeleton. That's when it scratches her neck, and that's when she gets those initial scars.
We went through it with a fine-tooth comb. We put it on slow-mo.
Well,
I can't say that for 20 some odd years they've been 100% accurate with where the scars are located. So I don't know. Maybe there are a couple instances where they get switched, or maybe the scene gets mirrored. Maybe I mean I'm sure the images on the internet are probably mirrored in some way if somebody takes a picture of it. And
I was also wondering. So the way they transport the T-Rex in this movie, I'm like, why didn't they do that the exact same way in Lost World? Because
Instead of the cargo hold?
Yeah, well, she's in the cargo hold, but you'd think, okay, if they have her tranked, why wouldn't she be in like some type of confined cage that would keep her from, rampaging out? Like, how did that whole ship massacre?
Listen, nobody survived that. We can't ask them.
We talked about that last week. It's just so bad. There's no answers to that question.
Vader's going to freak out.
God damn it.
I want to say though that is one of my favorite scenes in this entire movie is the animatronic get the blood from the T-Rex scene. I freaking love that scene. I think it's just seeing the full size animatronic T-Rex with Chris Pratt and Bryce Dallas Howard like in the same shot in this little confined space.
I do like that point where his face ends up right against her, and he pulls it away, and it's just like super stringy, mucusy.
He's like,
so
whoa.
gross.
I do like that scene, but it's such a it felt so shoehorned in there. They were like, we need to have a scene with like the T-Rex in here, and it felt like one of those scenes that was there just because they wanted to put it in there rather than feeling necessary to the plot. I don't know.
No.
I mean, like I said, there's nothing wrong with the scene. It was like a fun scene to watch. It bugged me because it felt shoehorned in.
I think this movie just bugs you.
It really does. Really
That's all
does.
right. That's all right.
So there's 5 movies total, not including Battle at Big Rock?
Yeah.
Not including that one. So favorite to least favorite, where would you go?
I did this the other day on Twitter. I think I put out my rankings. Of course, the first one, number 1. I don't think that anybody can argue with that. I honestly, want to say that Jurassic World is probably number 2, followed very, very closely with number 3, and then Fallen Kingdom, and then The Lost World, I think is how I would rank them. And I'm going to get a lot of shit from that because people love The Lost World.
I will.
And I don't want to.
I will agree with that ranking.
I think I would
approve that
go
ranking.
1, 4, 5, 2, 3.
Okay.
That's what I would do.
I would say 1, 4, and then 3 and 5 are kind of tied for me, and then 2.
Right on.